Welcome to the At a Total Loss podcast, where real life lost moms talk about stillbirth, baby loss, grief, survival, and all things in between. I'm Katherine, a lost mom to my beautiful son Brody, who died at full term and was stillborn in January of 2022. I had no idea what to do after his death, and I thought the sadness was going to kill me. So I immediately reached out to other lost moms to try to find somebody who knew how I felt. And it was these conversations that saved me, and I hope that they can do the same for you. We talk about everything. I even interview support people and partners, people who have another perspective on what this life of loss is like. So here we are, you guys. Pull up a chair, maybe grab some tissues, shoot, maybe even a glass of wine, as we hash out what life looks like after the death of your baby and all the things that leave us at a total loss. What's up, you guys? So you get me, just me this week. I thought it might be good because it's a holiday. So to do a special little episode, probably shorter than the usual ones, but I just wanted to share my thoughts and the things that I have going on with you guys in hopes that it helps this holiday. So yeah, it's Thanksgiving and we're going to dive right in. I have had a ton of conversations. I've had a lot of reading and absorbing knowledge and educating myself and talking to lost moms and talking to non-lost moms, but grievers, and just talking to therapists and just reading and taking everything that I know and trying to apply it. This is my first Thanksgiving. If this is your first time listening, my son Brody died at full term in January of this year and was stillborn. He is my first and only child. And I have been learning as I go. I kind of started this account in July, and I started this podcast in July. And actually, you can now watch this on my YouTube channel. The Katherine Lazar and At a Total Loss podcasts are all up there, but this one you'll be able to see if you want to see that. Anything like my Instagram? No, I did not do my hair. It's still on top of my head. This is where we're at. But I've been navigating this the best way that I can and putting in a lot of work into understanding grief and trying to navigate life after a loss and living without my child. So this is where I'm at. And I am sharing this with all you guys. So if you're listening to this on Thanksgiving morning or Thanksgiving, I want you to actually take a breath. I know, don't roll your eyes, but I want you to breathe with me. Very important that we remember to do this throughout today. I want you to take deep breath in through your nose for 4 seconds and then out through your mouth for 4 seconds. I'm going to do this with you. Here we go. Didn't that feel good? No one hates deep breathing, right? It's a little cheesy. I know you guys are probably like, what is she doing? Trust me on this. I guarantee you, if you really think about it, you have been living by tiny, short little breaths all the time. Think about it. I do. We do not any longer take deep breaths. We are anxious. We are grieving. We are stressed. We are sad. We are mad. If today becomes too much, if you feel like you're on the verge of losing it, I need you to take deep breaths. Do 10 of those and you will feel a little bit better, or at least get your physical reaction to what's going on to calm a little bit more. Now, what I'm going to do in this episode is really kind of address some of the things that were I asked on my Instagram, people to submit some concerns, some questions, some things. So I'm going to go over a couple of those. I've also done extensive research on like holidays and grieving and what this all looks like. And I want to share some of the most amazing things that I've read and I've actually done myself. So maybe it'll help. I don't know. It helps me. I've learned a lot in this last 10 months since Brody died, and I'm still learning. And what I've done is just document it so you guys can come along for the ride, because that's what this is, isn't it? Yep. But this is also relevant. Doesn't matter what stage you are in your loss journey. I mean, this could be 10 years. You could be your 10th Thanksgiving, and they're all so different. So all we're doing is just navigating the best that we can. I saw something and someone said that all we're really doing is trying to get through it, survive it, and support each other. And that's really such a good thing. Like, what are we doing here? Just trying to get through it. It's just another day. But the stress of holidays, the holidays by itself take out grief. They just bring all these things up. You stress to make it perfect or to enjoy it. Sometimes we're not in the space for stuff like that. I know a lot of you just really don't want to celebrate this year. I got to be honest, I really didn't know what to think or like what I was going to do. And if you follow me on Instagram, I think you saw me say, like, I'm done predicting my grief. I'm done planning it out. I kind of said, look, I don't know how I'm going to be, but I do know I need to be in a safe space around people who I feel safe with, because I truly don't know what it's going to be moment to moment. That's the truth. So we headed down to South Florida. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That's where I grew up. And this is where my parents still live. My little brother lives here too. And my sister and her husband and her 3 kids came down from Atlanta as well. We actually live right down the street from each other in Atlanta, which is awesome. And they're down here too. And Michael and I, last minute, we jumped in the car. We're like, let's just take the 8.5-hour drive. It'll be fun. We like spending time together. We like listening to podcasts and radio shows and good music. And we just hit the road. I will tell you, it was weird leaving my house because I knew that I wanted to bring some of Brody's things, of course. I was putting a little bit of like pressure on myself to like establish tradition now. But I shouldn't put that pressure on myself. There's no way, because it's going to evolve. I figured this year, I'm not even thinking clearly, and then maybe next year it'll look different. Shoot, if we even have a living child by next year, that's going to look totally different. To be honest, I feel like it's easier to honor your dead child when you have a living child, because then your photo, you have a bear in there that represents your baby, or the photo of the baby with your other children. We don't have that. So like, what is this tradition going to look like? How am I going to acknowledge him? I had no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. I had no idea how I was going to feel once I got home here, but I just knew I wanted to talk about him. I wanted him present in this holiday. How that would look, I didn't know. So, and I always get really weird about leaving his urn. I don't know. I know it's not him, but like, it feels weird. It just does. Anyway, so I had a little bit of a meltdown leaving the house. I was like, "Do we bring the urn?" And Michael's my husband. He was like, "No, let's leave the urn." So we grabbed an 8x10 photo. We grabbed Wolfie. If you follow me, you know that Wolfie is his stuffed animal that has been with him literally since birth. Like every photo of Brody, this wolf, this little stuffed wolf, his name is Malachi, which means leader of the pack. And I'm obsessed with this wolf. He's in every photo with Brody. So it's just such a good symbol of him. So we brought that, and then we have a little candle from Laurel Box that we light, has Brody's name on it, and it's beautiful. And whenever I light it, I just feel like his spirit is just really there and present. So we threw that in the car, and I was good with that, and I calmed down a little bit down the road. But the thought that, and we also have a weighted bear, a Molly bear. Some of you may have one, and it's a big weighted bear that has Brody on the front. And I had him in my lap, and I was like, wow, this is not my 9-month-old son. This is not even close. So that was a harsh realization, and I handled it shockingly well. Like I did cry, obviously, you guys, but it was that built up of like, oh my God, I feel this. And it feels like I'm just going to explode. So I had a good cry for like 2 minutes, and then I was like, okay, here we go. Let's see when this happens again. So I immediately, when we got to my parents' house, put the picture up in the foyer, like right when you walk through the front door. It's that room, you have to pass by it. His candle and his Wolfie are sitting there with his photo. And it's how you get to the kitchen, the stairs, the front door, and the family room. You have to pass it. And I just put it up there. I didn't even ask anybody. I just put it there. No one said anything. I mean, it's just, you see him, you can't help but see him. And this is why he's going to be like, he's there. His picture's there. And that's what I kind of established, because what I realized, and again, if you follow me on Instagram, I did post about this. And if you don't follow me, this is where I talk a lot of real talk on there. I knew that I was driving the bus as the griever, as the lost mom, as the person who's suffering the most. You are the driver of the bus and how this is going to go. You want their name said, you have to say it. You want a story told, you probably have to kick that off. There's a lot of reasons why, but taking control of your grief is really important. Be the person that says, this is my grief, and I'm going to handle it how I want to handle it, and this is how we're going to do it. Now, if you don't know how you want to do it, then that's fine. You'll figure it out as you go. Trial and error it. You know, and if something doesn't feel right, switch it up. Or if you feel like you're not doing enough, switch it up. We're all figuring this out and it's all different. And the good news is it's up to you to figure out how it's going to work for you. You don't have to even explain it to anybody. So I have notes, guys. Some of you submitted, I did a couple question boxes on Instagram, and you submitted some concerns and some questions that you had. So I'm going to address some of those. Also, there's just some notes that I've had that I've been thinking about and some things that I really like again. So I'm going to be reading those notes and trying to get those points across from you in hopes that it helps. You know, today's tough. Let's be real. It's not what we thought it was going to look like. It's not. The magnitude of that is hard. And so it's really important that we kind of know what we're dealing with, kind of figure out how we want to do this, and then just kind of go along for the ride, because that's all it is. We're getting through it, we're surviving it, and we're supporting each other. That's what we're here for. All right. So somebody submitted that they were kind of afraid that nobody would remember their baby. And, you know, this doesn't even apply just to Thanksgiving. I think it's something to be said for the days after, all of them. And I'm going to say something you probably won't like that much. They might not remember your baby. I'm going to be honest. Everybody has something going on. And in their world, it's the worst thing ever. Whatever that is, whatever their thing is, that's the worst thing. People move on. People go forward. People got their own thing and they can't see past whatever they have going on. It's up to us to keep our babies' names alive. It's us. We want their names said, we have to say it. We want them remembered, we have to do it. Shoot, people send Christmas cards out. I know lost moms who did baby announcements, Christmas cards, holiday cards. Those cards have their baby on there and they go right up on people's fridges. They ain't forgotten, they're right there. If you want to do that, that's okay. And we can't really blame anybody. Like, it's just life. And we can't be hurt, we can't be shocked, but it's us, we're their moms, to continue to talk about them, you know? And I'm okay with that because that means I'm in control. I get to control that. Who talks about him and when and why. I'm there. I'm going to bring it up. I want to make sure everybody wants to talk about him, or even if they don't, they're gonna. Because if we don't push that, then nobody will. It's on us. So also want to talk about the fact that some people really did not want to celebrate the holiday this year. They said no to a lot of invitations, which they actually were saying no to was the happiness that they were going to see when they got there. That's key. Like, that's really key. You know, I followed somebody who is a widower, and he basically was like, being somewhere with a bunch of couples just was not my thing. And I get that. If there's babies or infants, oh my gosh, that's really hard. I completely understand you not wanting to be there, or people overly joyous is really hard to watch, especially people who really don't get your sorrow. So I totally understand not wanting to go anywhere and not wanting to be around people who you truly don't feel like comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? So But you're allowed to change your mind. Let's say you feel like you do want to celebrate and you go to this event or this dinner or this party or this gathering, whatever, and you're like, wow, this isn't working. You can leave. You can leave. Let's say you decide you don't want to celebrate at all and you're going to stay home and you're going to be alone. And then you're like, wow, I could really use some human interaction. You can still go. You're allowed to change your mind if things aren't working for you. But I totally get it. If you don't feel like celebrating, that's absolutely fine. It isn't. That's up to you. Again, you're driving the bus. And if you feel like you don't want to go, you're not the only one that's saying no to things. I said no to stuff. There was a particular thing that I was like, there is 0% chance I'm going. Wholeheartedly not going. Not even are you sure, Katherine? No, not going. And it was that feeling of like, when someone mentioned it, it was like the blood drained out of my head. My heart dropped to my butt. Like, I was like, no, that's fine, because you're really not going to bring much to a table if you're miserable there. Am I right? You're probably better off not going. Send your condolences. And that's the thing. You can say, hey, we're not going to make it this year. Thank you so much for the invitation. I hope you have a beautiful Thanksgiving. You don't even have to explain yourself. Getting into all of it, oh, we're really sad and I just don't want to be around your joy. You don't even have to do that. Just say you're not going. They get it. Everyone gets it. And if they're offended, you might have to have another conversation about this, but I hope they're not. If they know you and they respect you and they support you, they won't be offended. But you're allowed to say, not happening. So, and that's another thing. When we're talking to non-lost people, there's still, if you're a non-lost person listening, or if you are a lost person and you want to say this to somebody else, what happens is non-lost people think two things about you. One of two things. One, that you're completely devastated, or two, that you're over it or you're better, quote unquote. They assume it's one or the other, which I cannot stand. Just ask us. How is this Thanksgiving treating you? How are you doing today? Where are you at? And let us tell you where we're at. It's that simple, and there seems to be like so much assumptions all the time. Like they see your belly, first time. No, it's not my first time. I've already had a child. He's in heaven. Just instead of like, how is this pregnancy treating you? Just ask. The Lord knows we'll tell you. You know what I'm saying? It's so funny to me. But honestly, and if nobody asks, what's the problem with you saying, hey, I'm having a really tough Thanksgiving. This is hard for me. It'd be great if we could, such and such. Or I'm doing okay. This moment right now is a good moment. I miss my son, but I know that he's here and I'm happy to be with you guys. Great. You said how you feel. And I've done that. People haven't been asking. And I've just been like, it's been really tough. I'm having a rough time. And then they kind of blink a few times, like they're trying to process, like, oh shit, this must be really hard for Katherine. Right. But listen, again, and I've preached this before, we cannot assume that people know how to handle us. We cannot assume that people know how we feel. We have to tell them. We have to communicate how we feel. We have to be prepared to communicate it. Otherwise, we're going to get crickets. We're going to get weird comments, and then we're going to be completely upset. We can't set ourselves up for that. We have to take the position of saying, and this is just like with anything else, this is what I need right now at this time. Okay, and then let people do what you need from them, expecting them to behave a certain way or say a certain thing, we're just setting everybody up for disappointment. And that's not what this is about. We want to really help each other. And moving forward, you want people to be educated on like how to handle these things, right? So understanding that, and I really think that sometimes we can do it preemptively, like before we get there, like a week before. Hey guys, we're looking forward to seeing you. Just know it's going to be a tough day. Here are some links to some information on how to deal with grievers over the holidays. Yes, heck yes. Send links to internet articles. So, and then it's not even coming from you, it's coming from a pro. And sometimes that resonates a bit more. And it's never too late to do it. If it's the day of and you're like, hey guys, just want to send this ahead. Here's some information about what's kind of going on in my brain. Here's what you can do to help this. This is what my expectations are. This is how I want to honor my baby today. 100% send that in advance. Communication. Heck yeah, I'm all for that. Also, it's good to consult with your partner about what they would like. When we were running out of the house, I was like, what do we do? And Michael's like, we're not bringing the urn. The urn's staying. And I was like, okay, great. And if something's really important to them, maybe that can give you some guidance. I know throughout this whole thing, sometimes I'm like, I have no idea what I want. No idea what I want. And I still don't. What I'm doing is like trial and error. Like, oh, that didn't really work. Let me try this again, or I kind of feel good right now. So I'm going to do this. And then I'm like, oh, wait, that was too much. So yeah. And communicate with your partner. Make sure that you are considering that they are too going through something. And that if they have particular idea of how they want to honor how you guys want to honor your baby, then listen, because sometimes that'll help you get some guidance and be a team in this. You're not alone. And sometimes I understand though, you can say no to invitations as much as you want to. You can lay some ground rules, but sometimes you get stuck in situations that you really don't want to be in. And I think the number one thing with that is make sure that you have an exit strategy. Say, hey guys, we're leaving at 8:00. No ifs, ands, or buts. Because you can get through anything if you know that there's an end in sight, if you know the end time. That's like a really hard workout. Like, have you ever been when you're looking at the clock, like, oh my God, and then you realize it's 55 minutes and you're going to be out of there at 7:45, and you're like, I can do this. I can do this. You can get through anything knowing that it's got an end. And if you skedaddle without telling anybody, fine, but just make sure you and your partner, or you and whoever you come with, know I'm leaving at this time. 100% do that. Have that exit strategy. And sometimes when you're in these situations, it starts to feel a little heavy, and you can take breaks. Take a step outside, go for a brief walk, get your glass of wine and go sit in the other room for a second alone. Call a lost mom or text a lost mom. You take deep breaths, and then just know that you need to take a time out from the situation. And you can absolutely do that in pieces until you get through the entire thing. 100%. There's nothing wrong with that. One of you submitted how to have conversations, the difficult conversations with family members or people that you don't see a lot. So how do we tackle these conversations? Well, again, communicating how you're feeling is really important, and letting them know that you're up for answering questions or not. That's completely up to you. Some people may want to bring up how they died, and if you want to answer those questions, or maybe some personal questions are asked, just be prepared for what you're willing to talk about and not talk about. That's really important, that you have set your boundaries before you even go into the conversation. Now, I do realize that there are some family members, and some of you have even mentioned specifically like sister-in-laws, that are just completely inappropriate and insensitive. When you're dealing with people like this, understand something. You cannot control how they act and what they say. The only thing you can control is how you react to it. So they may say something completely insensitive and inappropriate. You have to choose how you're going to react to that. I highly recommend, in order to not make detrimental damage, to try to react in the healthiest way possible. If you get lit and start screaming, I'm not entirely sure that's a great idea. It might happen, but take deep breaths, try to get your heart rate under control, collect your thoughts, and then just simply answer. Understand that sometimes these people's minds will not be changed. To them, their birth trauma is the worst thing that ever happened, and their living baby's taking a nap in the other room. Meanwhile, your birth trauma ended in death of your baby. And they still won't see it as the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Or they'll make a pregnancy announcement right into your face without even asking or acknowledging that this is a very hard day for you. These types of people, you have to be careful, because there's really no way around them. If you're going to be around them, you have to expect their inappropriate behavior, especially those that you've maybe even corrected in the past and said, hey, can you be a little bit more sensitive about this? And then they still do it. You just need to prepare before you get there, mentally get yourself ready, emotionally get yourself ready, and take it 1 minute at a time, and understand that. Now, approaching these conversations that you typically don't talk with, these people you don't talk to a lot, you might not want to divulge that much. You can pick and choose what you want to say to them. But again, the only thing you can control is how you respond to what they say. That's literally the only thing. And those are just so hard. Those are like the worst conversations. Because part of you is like, do I really care what this person says? Do I care what this person thinks? Do I care if I ever have another conversation with them ever again? Or, hey, I haven't seen this cousin or whoever in like a million years, and I really miss them, and I really want to just word vomit all over them about what's happened to me. It's weird. You just have to kind of choose what's going to happen after that conversation. And if it's just you wanting to tell the story of your baby and talk about your baby, that's a whole nother thing. You never know what the outcome's going to be. Again, know what you're comfortable doing before you enter these conversations. And maybe by addressing before you see them, if you send an email or a text or something, they're prepared for the conversations. Again, we're communicating. That's it. That's really it. We're communicating through this. I think a lot of people, and me included, are triggered by friends' children. And that's really, it's a frustrating thing because you don't hate the kids and you don't hate your friend for having them. That's the stupidest thing. You're sad because yours is not here. That's it. Very simple. But you have to say, listen, if your friend doesn't get it, like, hey, I can't be there. Like, infants is too much for me right now. And they don't get that, there's something up. You got to have that conversation. My friends have preemptively been like, hey, I'm not even going to send you pictures of my babies and my kids. Like, not until you're ready. And I know you're not ready. So, and that's okay if they're a trigger for you. You'll get over it. If you're stuck in a house or stuck in an event where there are babies and there's no getting away, this is where the breathing has to come in. This is where your invasive thoughts have to go away. You have to distract your mind and you have to focus on other things to get through it. Sometimes we're just stuck with these triggers. And believe it or not, after a certain amount of time, they do kind of get desensitized. You do get desensitized to it a little bit. And I think that they're hard and they suck. But if we just try not to spiral with our thoughts, we might be able to get through it. And I think we will be able to get through it. But again, you need to let your friends know, hey, this is tough for me. I'm going to go in the other room. I'm going to take a step out. These are where the breaks come in. Do what you need to do to get through that if there are tons of triggers around. But I got to tell you, a lot of you have messaged me that your friends don't understand why you don't want to see their baby. They don't get it. And that's a problem. I'm sorry. That needs to be talked about. Because them not respecting how horrible this is for you, your baby's dead. That's not good. And you'll be back. You're just tabling the situation for now. You will be back. It doesn't mean you're not friends anymore. Just in this moment, you've got to look out for your heart and your emotions. And it's just not the time for you to be there and see the baby and all that stuff. So that's a conversation that needs to be had with you guys. And I'm so sorry if that happens. A lot of us are rolling with this and we're not exactly sure what's going to happen. But I really think that the one thing we all need to agree on is that we're going to honor our babies. We're going to say their names. We're going to talk about them. And we're the ones that are going to kickstart that conversation. And I thought some of really good ideas about how to do that. I saw saying donate to a certain charity organization that means something to you, that represents your baby even. That's something that, instead of bringing a dish over or whatever it may be, or just saying this year, we'd love if you donate to the such and such organization in honor of Brody, I think that is something really great to do. Or even volunteer work somewhere and doing acts of kindness to honor your baby are really great ideas. Setting up a display. I did. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw it, my beautiful display of my baby. Put a picture up, put an urn up if you want to, put the stuffed animal up, or the swaddle, whatever it is that you want to do, put that up. The empty high chair, I thought about that. I couldn't bring it in the car, but pull up the empty high chair, maybe put the bear in it that represents the baby, like he's there, sitting there, just to honor him. And I think that is a really special thing to do. And if you do that, it's not over the top. It's not overly dramatic. You are honoring your baby. And if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. People whose loved ones are gone, whether it's a spouse or a mom or a grandfather or sibling or whatever it is, sometimes they leave an empty chair or an empty place sitting. So you can leave an empty high chair. Absolutely, if you want to do that. I think that it's really important that we give ourselves permission, you guys, to really do this how we want to do this. To do this how we need to do this. To make mistakes. To not do it perfectly, because there's no such thing. There's no right or wrong. We do this how we need to do this. Again, and we're driving the bus on how that's going to happen. And if you don't know how you want this to play out, then redo it, change it up, switch it up. This is a terrible thing that happened to us, you guys. We're doing this without our babies. They're not here. It's not right. It's out of order. The magnitude of that. Be easy on yourself. This is horrible. And I just even had a conversation a little bit ago. People closest to me weren't even realizing how bad I was struggling with this week. And wasn't until my husband, Michael, was like, yeah, this is a lot for her. And we just have to communicate that, or they're not going to know. Even the people that know you the best. Because when you're smiling and you're happy and you're doing things, it's like, oh, she's good. She's in a great place. Maybe let's not bring it up. We don't want to scare her. But then what they don't see is that you are like hyperventilating, or you're crying, or you can't keep it together, or you're just spiraling. And I think that letting them know, hey, this is really tough for me right now in this moment, I think that's important, you guys, because we're just going to be miserable if we keep it all to ourselves. That's my fear. This is pretty miserable. We just got to try to help ourselves out, and hear me out on this. A lot of people in our space are very angry, and they are not thankful, and they have no gratitude, and they don't feel the need to celebrate, quote unquote, this holiday. Thanksgiving it's in the name, giving thanks. We are not supposed to be grateful or thankful for the death of our babies. However, me personally, I'm thankful for my baby's life. I'm thankful that I got to be his mother, that I am his mother. I'm thankful I got to carry him for 8.5 months. I'm thankful that he has taught me so many beautiful and wonderful things. I'm just so thankful that he made me a mother, that I had that experience with him, that this has brought me closer to my husband, to my close family, that has brought beautiful friendships through other lost moms. I'm thankful that I have amazing doctors that are helping me get to the next stage in my building my family. I'm thankful for the support system. I'm thankful for you guys. I mean, it doesn't mean that you're thankful for your baby's death. That doesn't even, no, who's thankful for that? That's not what we're talking about here. It's okay to separate grief and gratitude. They're not the same thing. It's okay to have both. I'm grieving the death of my son while I'm grateful for his life. And so when we go into this holiday, if we can just focus on their lives, what they taught us, how they changed us, how beautiful their little lives are, and try to stay away from the dark death talk. Oh, if only the doctors did this. If only I had gone in. If only I had known. Oh, he died from this, and his death sent me into a depression and spiral and grief. If we can try, even for just one day, to celebrate their lives. And that is so hard. I know it feels like an impossible task. And I know a lot of us are very angry. We're in this situation. A lot of us have some envy that we've never felt before, that people have these living children that we don't, these living babies. Some of us are trying to conceive or having fertility issues, and there's just pregnancy announcements left and right. And it feels like the world is crashing down. But if you can, for 1 second, to try to help yourself get through today, it is being grateful for your baby's life. I know it's hard, you guys, but here's what I want to leave you with. I know that sometimes, especially in the beginning after baby loss, is a feeling of blame and guilt and shame and embarrassment that you don't have a living baby, that you had one job to keep this baby safe and you didn't. And you're embarrassed, and you feel like people are talking about you, or you feel like they're looking at you from across the room with pity, or you feel like your story makes them feel like they're so much better off. Let me remind you, you have walked through hell and are still standing. You have suffered the worst thing a human can go through. One of the worst things a human can go through. And you're still standing. You have loved tremendously, and you have lost tremendously. You are a different type of human. You've experienced things that people will not experience in their lifetimes. The magnitude of your love for a baby that's gone, and you're still standing. You're a badass warrior mama who literally can walk with your head held high. Something happened to you. You didn't do this. This happened to you, and it's horrific. and you're still freaking standing. You're still there at that dinner table. You're still showing up. You still have a smile. You are still kind. You're still hopeful. That makes you a different type of human being, and nobody can take that from you. So you walk in there and you cannot be ashamed or embarrassed, because these people will never know what it's like to be you. I guarantee you they wouldn't last one day in your shoes. Wear it like a badge of honor, wear it like a superhero cape, because you are an absolute badass. That's just how I feel about you. If you don't feel that about yourself, I'm sorry, but that's how I feel about you. And you do this however you want to do this. You know, don't want to small talk? Don't small talk. Look at my sweatshirt. It says, "What's your trauma?" I'm over the small talk. I'm going to link it. If you guys like it, I'll link it. We want to talk big things. Our lives have been rocked. Our worlds have been changed. We are just not the same as some of these people. We want to talk about the big things. And if you like small talk, that's cool. Sometimes it takes your mind off of stuff, but I got to tell you, not a lot of lost moms like the small talk. But here we are. It's a holiday. Whether it's your first, your 10th, your 20th, it's always going to be rough. It's always going to bring a little sting. But this is a big holiday that's centered around gratitude and thankfulness. And I know how hard it is to have that right now. But my hope for you is that you find one thing that you are grateful for, one glimmer of light, one little bit of hope, and that you feel the love of the people closest to you around you, that you feel the love of your baby, even though they're gone, that you realize who you are now and what this means now, being a lost mom and being a bereaved parent, being a mom that's still here when their baby is not. That's my wish for you guys, to smile today, at least just one time. Hey, hit me up. I'll be around. I'll be smiling, not 24/7, but I will be around doing things and trying to get through it, because that's what we're doing, guys, surviving, and we're here to take care of each other. So good news is I got this podcast up on all platforms, but I also have the YouTube up if you want to watch this video. It's just me with a bun on my head, wearing my sweatshirt at my parents' house, and it's actually quiet right now, which is great. I think the kids are sleeping. And there's just so many things that I can talk to you about, but I want you to remember as you go throughout this day to take your breaths, to take it minute by minute, and remember that you're the driver of this bus, and today goes how you want it to go. So hit me up if you need me. I'm here for you guys always. I'm so proud of you for even listening to this, and I really hope that it helped in even the smallest way. I'm thinking about you guys and your babies today, and I'm hoping that you have a happy day, even if it's just for a moment. All right, guys, until next time, we'll have a guest next week. So that's good. Some really cool people are coming on the podcast to give their insights. I really want some good messages for you guys. And some of you have submitted some requests for topics that I'm all over. So we're going to have some really serious conversations going on. As always, hunt me down, find me on Instagram, shoot me a message. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this and how you're feeling, and if you have any questions. And also, if you're watching it on YouTube, leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe so that you can get notified when I drop another one. I always do the podcast and then I do a breakdown after. But I'm so sorry you guys are here, but I'm so happy that you are here at the same time. So good luck today, guys. I'll be thinking of you. Take care, Lost Moms.